You think money follows value. It doesn't. It follows whoever controls emotional gravity in the room. That is the real danger of dark psychology. It does not argue harder. It rewrites perception underneath conscious thought. Fear does it. Ego does it. Urgency does it. Most targets never notice the hand steering the wheel. This is not a manual for exploitation. This is armor for anyone forced to negotiate inside predatory rooms.
Once a tactic has a name, it loses power. The spell weakens. Judgment starts returning.
The first trap is asymmetrical debt. Amateurs sell value and pray logic carries the deal across the line.
It rarely does. People do not move cleanly through logic when tension starts pressing on identity.
They move to escape discomfort, to relieve obligation, to end the pressure building behind the ribs. That is why skilled manipulators stop selling products. They manufacture the feeling of being owed.
Not ordinary reciprocity, not a polite free gift. A debt too vague to measure and too heavy to ignore.
The gesture looks generous. Underneath, it is a hook buried inside gratitude.
A waived restriction, a private insight, an exception that sounds costly, even when it costs nothing.
The moment the buyer feels chosen, resistance starts dissolving. The room is no longer neutral.
Chosen people feel pressure to respond. They want to prove they deserved the favor.
Underneath it all sits tension. Obligation creates it. The brain hunts relief faster than logic hunts truth.
To execute this cleanly, offer one calculated sacrifice and frame it like personal exposure.
Say you opened a private door. Say you bent an internal rule. Make the concession feel intimate.
In a modern boardroom, that single move can soften more resistance than 20 minutes of polished claims.
Next comes manufactured danger. Comfort is the enemy of movement.
A calm buyer sees no reason to spend, no reason to switch, no reason to act.
So the manipulator never begins with the cure, he begins with the wound.
He names the leak, the blind spot, the hidden cost buried inside familiar routines.
Once that threat feels vivid, hesitation stops looking wise. It starts looking reckless.
This works because danger narrows attention. The mind leaves analysis and moves towards self-protection.
Nobody buys lifeboats on dry land. First, they must feel the water rising.
So expose consequences before presenting any solution. Let the threat breathe first.
Ask what delay is already costing them. Ask what competitors already see. Ask what weakness they normalize.
Then stop talking. Let their own answers echo back through the silence.
That is when urgency becomes real, because now the panic belongs to them.
In a sales audit, one question about wasted budget can turn routine discussion into a private emergency.
Only then does your offer transform. It is no longer an expense. It becomes the only exit.
The third trap is inverted coercion. Push too hard, and the buyer starts defending autonomy instead of value.
That instinct is psychological reactance. Threaten freedom, and the nervous system prepares to resist.
So the manipulator does not push. He pulls the prize away.
He implies the offer may not suit this person, this team, this level of readiness.
That is when ego steps in. Ego hates exclusion more than it hates complexity.
Now the room changes. The buyer is no longer judging the offer. The buyer is defending status.
To do this well, never beg.
Never chase. Never explain your standards too much.
Question their capacity instead, their speed, their pressure tolerance, their ability to execute without hesitation. The wound lands immediately, because powerful people expect to be selected, not screened out.
So they start pitching themselves. They volunteer proof. They argue for their own readiness.
In a private equity room, that reversal can happen in seconds without the seller raising his voice.
The fourth trap weaponizes a simple concept: indifference.
Buyers smell desire through breath, eyes, pauses, and tiny fractures in composure.
The instant they sense need, the balance shifts. You stop looking premium. You start looking available.
Humans rank power by dependency. The calmer person appears richer in options and stronger in nerve. That perception changes everything, because abundance feels safer to follow than need. So the execution requires disciplined neutrality. State the number. Then let the silence suffocate the room.
Do not rescue them with discounts. Do not flood the air with justification. Do not blink first.
Stillness does what speeches cannot. It tells them you can survive their refusal.
And that changes the number itself. Price starts feeling anchored instead of invented. In a high-ticket negotiation, 5 calm seconds can generate more authority than 50 polished lines.
Trap 5. The identity infection.
Some buyers are too experienced to be moved by ordinary persuasion or theatrical urgency.
They have seen every closing script. Their logic is trained to absorb pressure without visible reaction.
So the manipulator bypasses logic and moves directly towards self-image.
Because people do not only buy outcomes, they buy evidence about who they are.
Call someone disciplined, visionary, clinical, decisive. Watch what happens next.
If they accept the label, they become loyal to it. That is the hidden turn. Identity, once spoken aloud, becomes something the ego wants to defend.
Now hesitation carries a cost. It risks contradicting the image they just embraced.
So assign the trait first, then present terms. Make the decision feel like character under pressure.
Price changes meaning inside that frame. It becomes proof of alignment with the higher identity. In an executive pitch, the signature can protect ego long before it protects profit.
The sixth trap weaponizes regret. Amateurs sell tomorrow. Predators reopen yesterday.
Future gains are abstract. Past losses feel personal, measurable, and humiliating.
This is loss aversion. Pain outweighs promise inside the human mind.
So the strategist does not begin with upside. He begins with damage already done.
He calculates wasted spend, missed opportunity, slow erosion hidden across months or years.
Numbers matter because numbers turn vague discomfort into undeniable evidence.
The move is brutal. Quantify the wound, then force them to look at it. Not what they might gain.
What they already bled while doing nothing.
That creates mourning. And mourning is stronger than optimism at the point of decision.
In a software migration call, 3 years of leakage on one screen can break denial instantly. Then comes the seventh trap. The architecture of the enemy.
Shared hatred bonds faster than shared enthusiasm, especially when power feels under attack.
People can ignore friendly rapport. They rarely ignore a threat stalking their position. The tribal mind unites when a common adversary comes into focus.
So the manipulator stops sounding like a vendor and starts sounding like an ally under siege.
He names the force hurting them: predatory fees, internal bureaucracy, algorithmic opacity, institutional pressure.
The room shifts at once, because now the conversation has a battlefield.
Frame the offer as leverage against that enemy, not a service, a weapon.
That framing changes the purchase. It no longer feels passive. It feels like resistance.
And resistance carries moral energy that spreadsheets alone never generate.
In a tense strategy meeting, that shift can move a buyer from caution to commitment in minutes.
The eighth trap is disqualification. When a deal weakens, amateurs lean forward. Predators step back.
That reversal works because rejection shocks status and activates scarcity at the same time.
The moment access closes, value can rise sharply inside an insecure mind.
So the move feels unnatural. Withdraw the offer when fit is clearly absent.
Do it cleanly. No drama. No bitterness. No plea for reconsideration.
Close the door with composure and let silence finish the work.
Now the buyer is no longer deciding whether they want the offer.
They are deciding whether they can tolerate being excluded from it.
That is why elite pressure often hides inside restraint rather than aggression.
Seen together, these traps reveal one brutal truth. Money follows emotional architecture before logical comparison.
Used without conscience, these tactics become manipulation wrapped in polished language and professional clothing.
Used with awareness, they become detection tools, a way to slow the room and protect judgment.
So the real question is not whether dark psychology exists. It does. The question is whether you can spot the force moving you fastest: fear, guilt, status, regret, or exclusion.